Yo, what's going on, guys? We got a brand new episode of Marvel Yap today, episode number 24. Today, we're going to be talking about the Snap Shutdown. What happened in this most recent OTA, as well as the most toxic cards in the game. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. As always, we're joined by the hostess with the absolute mostest, notmydance. How are we doing today, Dance?
I'm doing pretty well comparison to, I think, a lot of Snap players right now, considering, you know, a lot of them are now playing Rivals or just anything else forcibly. This has been an interesting week for Marvel Snap, Tucker.
Yeah, crazy week for Snap, social media overall, which is what, you know, involved Snap just like catching a stray. But man, but besides the craziness, which I wonder, do you guys know why Jeff is on screen right here? For all our audio listeners, we have Jeff, the baby land shark, on screen at the moment. What is the reasoning for Jeff on screen, Dance?
Well, Jeff's ability, if you didn't know, is that has nothing can stop you from moving or playing this to any location. Yeah, so apparently, just Snap is dead in the United States of America right now. When we're recording this, it may be fixed by the time this goes live. We have no idea. But as of now, Snap is dead, so we are stopped from playing and moving Jeff right now. We've been effectively stopped right now. Maybe Professor X would be an apt one to have on screen, but this is a little bit scuffed in terms of the way we've normally recorded these, because normally you've got your setup, you've got the audio, you've got your whatever windows we need to pull up for later on for the browser images, and my face just kind of sits over here. But in actuality, right now, this is my iPad. I'm moving Jeff now. I'm in control of the screen in the middle, and then I have a second Discord account hooked up so I can hear this. One Discord account streaming this, and then this is something else, Tugger. This is interesting. But speaking of interesting, what's been going on for you? How's your week been going?
Besides all the hoops we had to jump through just to be able to get this to happen, we got something actually crazy happening this week. There is snow in Florida on Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
And they have closed down schools because there is projected snow down here.
How are you? You're gonna have snow. Bro, I got like 3 inches outside. I can see it right over there. This is like, yeah, okay, sure, of course I'm gonna have snow. But this is a whole new world for you. Are you gonna be okay? Do you need me to give you any advice on snow?
No,
in general.
I've had snow in Georgia, but like having snow down in Florida is crazy. My dog Valkyrie has never experienced snow, so maybe she'll experience snow for the first time. They're expecting like an inch of snow, but it's probably just gonna be ice or sleet. I doubt it'll actually be snow, but it's really, really interesting. But everyone's getting like scared because, you know, it's snowing in Florida. Like,
yeah, this is. I swear I'm not trying to gatekeep this. As you're telling me, you're getting like maybe an inch.
Yes,
and it's gonna be sleet, and they've closed the schools for this down there, and everyone's shutting down.
Yep.
We've got I woke up this morning, Tucker. It was negative 15 degrees. I've got inches of snow outside. I have everything, and people are still going to work. People still doing this stuff because it's just what happens out here. And so just the contrast between states is so interesting to me.
Yep.
It's wild. I don't know. I don't feel like that little snow should shut down your whole state or wherever you are. But at the same time, I also don't think that TikTok getting shut down should have shut down Marvel Snap. Segue of the year. That was a really good one.
Yeah, if you guys did not see in the bottom of the screen, all of our audio listeners, we have 3 topics for today. We have Snap Shutdown. We have our OTA reactions. Oh my goodness, that's going to be comical. And then we also have our most toxic cards in Marvel Snap in prep for a Bullseye coming out later today as well, which we'll be talking about Bullseye, and we do have a deck for you guys.
Yeah, we only have one deck. We'll talk about that whenever we get there. But yeah, it's interesting. So, do you want to break down like what happened? Like Tucker, how did we get to the situation where Marvel Snap is no longer up for the majority of people in the US? Now, Canada, other places in the world, I know it's guys in Brazil's fine. We're talking about Robo it is fine up in Canada. There are people up in just other places of the world entirely, and they're completely fine. But just in the United States of America, Snap is down.
Yeah, so TikTok, it got shut down in the US for, I don't know all the details, but Congress, whatever, shut it down. And one of the main like owners or companies that produces whatever TikTok is ByteDance. Not notmydance, but ByteDance. And ByteDance has some shares or has ownership in Marvel Snap, and hence ByteDance being part of TikTok and TikTok getting shut down. Marvel Snap caught a stray because it's owned by the same company over in the U.S. This is only in the U.S. because in China it's owned by Nuverse or NetEase. No, NetEase has it in China, which is why they're able to do all the awesome stuff.
Yeah,
which I wish we had.
That's a whole different thing. But so how it works very specifically, because there's a lot of confusion about this. So Marvel Snap is developed by Second Dinner, but the game is published by another company. And the difference between that is that, yes, let's imagine I wrote a story. I can't go up to bookstores and sell it to the bookstores.
Right.
No, I have to take it to a company whose job is to take that book to the bookstores, a company who already has that rep, and they publish the book for me. So in a similar way, Second Dinner made Marvel Snap, it developed Marvel Snap, but it's published by Nuverse, which is a subsidiary of ByteDance. So it's this really weird like chain of effects of like where it connects, because we've heard of Nuverse, we've heard of Second Dinner, and then ByteDance is kind of like this shadow thing in the background that maybe has been mentioned once in a while. But especially with TikTok being banned, because TikTok is completely owned by ByteDance, no subsidiaries or whatever. ByteDance was told to shut down their stuff by the Congress, whatever that stuff is. Again, TikTok is back though. How did you enjoy your 12 hours of no TikTok, by the way? Right? It was that like 14 hours, something like that.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, I still have Twitter, and I just went on that. I didn't try to going through like Instagram Reels, because Instagram Reels are weird, really weird.
I told when I first heard about this whole thing, before I knew, because again, before we I'll say we didn't know that Marvel Snap was going to get shut down. People at Second Dinner didn't even know Marvel Snap was going to get shut down. We'll talk about that in a second. But when I told my wife, or my wife told me that TikTok was getting shut down later that day, I was like, well, just watch Instagram Reels. And she looked at me, and I don't have TikTok, so you're gonna have to tell me on this. She looked at me and said, I don't want to watch content from 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Is it just like really? So is this basically like boomer version of TikTok is what Instagram Reels has become, right?
It's boomer version of TikTok, and in the sense where it feels like you could post content at the same time, but the algorithm doesn't pick it up the same way. So like that's why it takes longer for some of these posts to blow up, or like just to be caught up on some of these other like social media interactions. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know any of that stuff. I just, like I said, she mentioned it to me, and I thought that was somewhat interesting, so I thought I'd ask you, because you just seem more in the know than I do, just in general, because you're just that cool. You are. Stop it. But then, yeah, so we had TikTok shut down, and I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. I see a post on my Twitter, and this is how I first found out about it, where it says, hey, is anyone else having trouble logging into Marvel Snap right now?
Oh boy.
And I feel like that from that point onwards, it kind of just I don't know. But how did you find out that Marvel Snap was like down for? Was it just like everyone else, or like did you try to open? What was that for you?
I was streaming at the time. I was streaming. It was like almost 11, 10 o'clock my time, almost like 12 a.m. Eastern.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm streaming Marvel Rivals. I'm not playing Snap at the moment. People are coming in. Snaps down. Snaps down. Snaps down. Dara just got kicked off a snap, and I'm like, whoa, 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 what just happened? And then it was an onslaught of people coming over and being like, yo, so Snap's taken down, I can't log in, and like I have people that watch me in like Canada that are still working out. I have people in like Australia still being able to do stuff, and everyone was going crazy. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And then like of course then it led to announcements, by the community manager Griffin to everyone, Gauze to everyone, telling the whole public that hey, yeah, Snap is down. We're working on a fix. So it's supposed to have bid within these 12-hour parameter at this time of recording. Snap's still not back up, and we're still within that 12-hour parameter. So we don't know for sure. We don't know if we will get any compensation or anything, which is interesting. I feel at the same time, we can be upset that Snap is down, and it's interesting in the sense maybe they could have communicated if they knew Snap was going to get shut down, but there's like some gray area in between where it's like it's not actually second dinner we need to be mad at it all kind of feeling.
So what is it? Yeah, so there's even a, what is it? So there's a not a tweet, it's a message on Blue Sky from Ben Brode.
Yeah.
That actually I think talks about a lot of this stuff where Ben was it? I think you have that, right?
Yes.
Ben said here, what is it? Ben said that unfortunately, Marvel Snap is temporarily unavailable in the U.S. app stores and unavailable to play in the United States. This was a surprise to Second Dinner and our publisher Newverse. I want to talk about that bit in a second, but we're actively working on getting the game up as soon as possible, and we'll update you once we have more to share. Now, I get it. I get the logic. The internet's the internet, Tucker.
Yes.
The response to this, the response that someone do you legitimately believe, before we hit the rest of this thing, do you believe that Second Dinner knew that they were going to shut down their app and lied to everyone about that? Like, actual question.
So I don't think they did. I could understand them if they did know, not wanting to push that out in the general public and cause a panic kind of sense at the same time. I don't know what do they have to gain telling beforehand? Are people going to buy more bundles or spend more money when they find out Snap's going to be shut down for a little bit or shut down because of TikTok? Like, I don't know exactly how they would have capitalized on that. Maybe they didn't tell people because they're like, you know what, Snap's dying right now. We don't want to, kill it even more. But like, I don't know. I think it's just a little weird,
Yeah, it's just such an unfortunate situation. So again, but that's what one of the people, someone responds, says, "Stop lying. This wasn't a surprise. You didn't give a heads up because out of fear because people wouldn't purchase the season pass. Hope refunds are on the table because you guys have lost all my trust."
Yeah. What?
Ben Brode responds a lot nicer than I probably would, where he says, "We're on Zoom together right now trying to unscrew things, and it doesn't help us to bring the game down and then bring it back up. That doesn't make them extra money."
Right.
And one of the things I want to walk back to is when Ben said at the very beginning, this was a surprise to Second Dinner and our publisher Newverse. Yeah. Later on, what is it? Actually, so Second Dinner had a message that they posted in the Discord as well.
Skipping ahead right there. Oops.
Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry. But this message originally said the outage was a surprise to us and Newverse as well. And then this message was edited later to remove Newverse from there.
Ooh, interesting. Was not a surprise to Newverse, but was a surprise to Second Dinner.
It's not confirmed.
Allegedly, maybe.
Listen, we're talking about a situation that's literally happening in the past, like, 24
Yap
hours.
drama alert here.
Let's go. But I'm just saying, so I don't know whether or not Newverse actually knew or not.
Right.
But when we're looking at this and it says, and again, this message at one point did say this outage was a surprise to us and our publisher Newverse and wasn't planned. Then they edited the message.
Makes you think. Really makes you think.
I'm sorry. My tinfoil hat's cutting off the circulation in my brain here, but it's such a developing situation. So I don't. Yeah, but then yes, and then the other image as well, where Ben says, what is it? Straight up, they heard they wouldn't be affected. Yep. So they knew this was a potential issue, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? Are we gonna like?" They maybe reach out, whatever, and they're like, "Nope, you're good." And they're like, "It's all chill." And then they think it's all chill, and then they start seeing those same tweets, Tucker, where everyone's like, well, "Can you get into Marvel Snap? Can you get? Can you?"
Just pain for everyone. The Snap shutdown, the Snap lockout has been crazy. But I do want to say, while Snap was still active, segue here, we did have an OTA.
Oh, I had some other stuff before we swapped to the OTA.
Then let's go back to it. If you have more, continue.
I have more. So one of the things you talked before, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut your segue off. My apologies. One of the things you talked about was obviously, what is it? People, this is bad for people for a lot of different reasons. So you mentioned that you can't, what happened for you, right? You can't, something got cut off for you because of it?
Yeah, so like I spent tokens on Moonstone this week, and then I was trying to get her Spotlight variant. And so like I spent 3 Spotlight keys. I was close to earning the 4th one. That's why I spent 3 Spotlight keys to try and get her. But since Snap's been locked out, I can't get in to earn even more credits to be able to get the next Spotlight key. So there's a pretty decent likelihood that I'm going to miss out on the Moonstone variant now, which is kind of sad. But maybe it's for the best that I just need to save my resources for other stuff. But I think the variant looks awesome. So I was like, I kind of really want it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I think yours, and it sucks for you. I'm not trying to say you are. I think there's a lot of other people who it's really bad for. There are the daily missions, there are bounties, there are other limited time situations. People are like, okay, I'm like 1 key away from this last one to finally get Moonstone, or I'm so stoked I can finally get the Vladimir Putin version of Black Swan. Like, I'm absolute. Have you seen that comparison, by the way? Yes. Have you seen? It's so hilarious. But what is it?
Gosh.
But one of the things you mentioned in regards to all that was that compensation. And now I hate the fact that it's like, I don't want to be like greedy. Everyone like, yes, give me the money, give me all this stuff. But Second Dinner did flat out say, so Griffin, the community manager, and it was again posted on Twitter and whatever, said, during this downtime, we realize that many of you are missing out on time-based content, rewards, and missions. Second Dinner is committed to ensuring that all players are compensated for their lost time. We'll be sharing more information on this as the situation evolves. So we're going to get compensation, but I think it's also a matter of like, they're not going to announce any sort of compensation. They're not going to announce it until they have a confirmed, like until everything's fixed. Because imagine they say, okay, cool. For what's happened thus far, this is the determined amount of compensation you're going to get. But then it goes on for another week. If we didn't know about that like predetermined compensation, probably would have been fine with it or something. So it's something like that, which I imagine it's just not going to be able to occur. They've said they're doing their absolute best to try to bring Marvel Snap back up. They said, because again, we're recording this the day before this goes live. So they said Monday morning they want to have it up in the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
We're like, we're over halfway through and we still haven't seen anything. So a lot of this stuff is just, we're just kind of sitting here and waiting.
In limbo.
In limbo. But basically, everyone inside of the US is at the Sanctum Sanctorum for the last like 24 hours or whatever. I will say I'm one of the people who used a VPN. Bent Broad recommended using a VPN, but then I've also heard there's might be legal issues with it. I don't know. I'm not pushing it. I ain't gonna recommend anything. Yeah. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. I'm not gonna say that I know the best options here, but it kind of just is what it is. It's a sucky situation. I don't know, but that's basically the catch up. Unfortunately, there's not like a resolution to this until we hear something. maybe there will be something later on. Maybe when this goes live, you're not even able to play Marvel Snap. We would like to play Marvel Snap as much as everyone else. We want everyone to play. Hopefully this won't be taking longer. I don't know if you have any other points on that. I just wanted to give like a full breakdown of everything that just happened in the shutdown, all the details, everything like that. So there's no misinformation, no questions. Everyone can know all the information.
No, I think that's a good rundown. I really hope we're all able to play Snap at this point at the time of us posting this video. So it's been very interesting. We haven't really experienced anything like this before because this is completely different than like the Pokemon Pocket, people using VPNs to get over there. So if you are going to use your VPN, please use it sparingly and use it cautiously because it's not that Pokemon was banned in the entire US. So just keep that in mind. Of course, yeah, the ban has been lifted on TikTok, so technically maybe Snap isn't within that, which is why they're able to, you know, reinstate the game,
which is weird.
Yeah, it's
so weird to me.
But I mean, if we were to get into stuff like that, it's because TikTok has more priority for other reasons. But anywho, moving on over more popular and probably some other stuff. But anyways, we had an OTA happen this week, and this OTA was an absolute joke. There was some cool stuff, but you'll see why I'm calling it a joke right now. But Dance, what all did you think about the OTA?
I thought the OTA overall, I didn't actually take issue with the OTA itself. I thought the OTA did a good job of like trying to bring a lot of stuff upward, bring a lot of stuff downwards. That really was like, that really were problematic. Were cards that were like, that people were taking issue with, and stuff that was like way too strong. And I was trying to bring some stuff back out that was pretty much dead. Yep. And we'll talk about the queen of the underworld in a second here. But did you know apparently Scream had been dominating win rates in terms of in their like internal metrics?
Apparently, but I wasn't facing enough to be like, man, I hate this Scream deck. It's so like I wasn't thinking that at all. Like that was not what, you know, Wiccan and I were thinking in any of these like situations, you know? Yeah,
honestly, right? Like Wiccan, who, spoiler alert, did dodge everything. Anyway.
Yes.
So Scream went down to a 2-2, and also now works correctly with Luke Cage, which correctly, whatever. We talked about how the whole steel thing worked on the last Yap. If you didn't, if you missed that, check that one out. Yeah, so they said they wanted to let it run wild for a little bit, but also it was like, we want to kind of spread that strength. Because the deck, as far as I could tell, whenever I talk to people about this deck, it pretty much, if you played Scream on 2, you probably win. It kind of felt similar to Mr. Negative, I think, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like if you have the line and you have move enablers, you kind of just win the game because you kind of just can offset what's happening. It's like I have Ravona on 2, I can play Mr. Negative on 3, you know, or Sonic 2, whatever.
Exactly. And so yeah, so Scream lost a point of power, which was fair there. But then also, we've got our first buff pretty much where it's our like what is it? Spider-Man it's the first 2-4 with a positive.
Well, I mean, I told you I wanted Spider-Man to get a buff, but this was not what I had in mind. I mean, it makes Spider-Man better. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, that's good for Spider-Man. We like that he's more applicable now. And yeah, like his downside is he doesn't stay on that location you play him onto. Which, by the way, this is an absolute banger split. I love the split on Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
here.
I get to show off my splits today. I should have really checked all these beforehand. Anyway. Yeah, no, I mean, it's cool that Spider-Man got a change, right? So they said they wanted to spread that power out throughout the whole deck there. And also Spider-Man kind of had fallen out of some of those lists. So I like this change. This just felt like a cool change. It felt like a cool idea. I had no issue with this. You tell me what you think of this guy. You tell me what you thought of this change.
So I was like, what are we doing here? I think this makes Luke Cage a more applicable Red Guardian target. Like, I think that's one upside at him at a 3-2, but I wasn't thinking the extra point of power was an issue.
I talked about this previously, and I said, I think it's really nice that they shot Luke Cage in the knee. Hopefully next time they go for the head. That's my opinion on him. It has not changed. Now, They did say, and I actually, because I like this logic, because one of the things that I talked about before, when I was saying that I had a really big issue with Luke Cage, was like, how do you fix make it so all the counters against him are just worse than? Because you have to balance, there has to be a balancing thing in order so that that deck doesn't become just the best one in the world.
Right.
And they did that with US Agent going back to the way he released.
Yep. Which, yeah, like this change and the next change, I think are very applicable. I think from when these cards first came out, like it definitely was, they needed that extra warranted like buff in a sense. But now I think the way the meta has kind of subsided, like this is totally fair. I don't think -3 like it's definitely not the same. Like I agree, like the -4 does add up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I still think this is still a good card.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. In my opinion on US Agent and again, the next one we talk about, both of these cards I think were released as fine, but the community was wrong. And so Second Dinner corrected for the community.
Yes.
But in actuality, I think US Agent was fine at this. I liked him when he was this, and then he got buffed.
Yeah.
And I thought he was he's already, if you just have this, he's a 2-cost, and let's imagine there are 4 of those applicable costs there. He's a 2-cost 15 power card, pretty much.
Yes.
Then before he was a 219. It was even better. It was insane. I didn't think he needed that much. I didn't think he was that bad.
Even hitting one card's good too. Like a 2/6 is still really good.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like a 2/6 is just insane. And in a similar vein, Hydra Bob is a 1/4, which everyone's talking about. Because again, I don't think the community understood this card. When it first launched, when everyone was first talking about this, no, I don't think people understood how good this card truly was, because that snapping is oftentimes an upside. It's just a 1/4 with pretty much no downside.
Yes.
And that's really solid.
And even better in a sense when you actually include it with the snapping mechanic to be like, oh, now my bubble movement, it like either forces your opponent really to make a decision whether to stay or to retreat for the chance of what Bob's going to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Hydra Bob was... I said Hydra Bob and US Agent were fine before they got buffed. And I think they're going to be fine now, and everyone else sees that. And I think we're going to be seeing something similar, like I talked about last week. Wiccan and Anti-Venom both got buffed right before they released. And I think we're going to see that same thing occur. I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing about Moonstone, but I don't want to spoil that section too much.
Yeah, no. I mean,
We'll
talk about that in a second.
We'll talk.
But I actually have some good thoughts about the card.
Nice. So, one of my favorite things about this OTA was stuff like this. It doesn't mean this card is good, but I heard someone else talk about this. Tucker, do you know why they were able to do this?
Why?
Because they buffed Enchantress. You can't. They are so scared about hurting the Series 1 game. But they buffed Enchantress to give her that little bit of extra power. And with that in mind, we have 3 different ongoing cards getting buffed in Series 1 in this OTA.
That's actually a good shout. I hadn't thought about it in that sense. This change, I didn't feel like was really applicable for us. But the next 2, I think, actually do hold a lot of value, even in the current like Series 3 and above game state.
Yeah, so I talked about this. Do you think? I don't believe this version's good, and there are some stats to back it up. We'll look at those in a second. In case it isn't obvious, by the way, sorry for audio listeners. We swear we're trying. 4/5 K, 4/4 Kazar went to a 4/5. Same ability, otherwise. Is it possible that this card goes to a 3/2 +2 to the 1-cost cards? If you want this card to compete, I don't know how it can with only giving 1 power.
If Kazar gets a buff like that, it really depends on. Call me crazy. This next week of Marvel Snap, because the cards that are in spotlights with Bullseye.
Interesting, yeah. Because Marvel Boy at a 3/1, I think is better than Kazar.
Yeah.
Like I don't see any value in Kazar here.
Well,
if we're gonna have
Patriot, because Ultron Series 3 and Patriot Series 3, right?
Yeah, true. They both are. But also, if you're looking at the Kazar, yes, technically you're going to get that output, but you can get a much more consistent output, especially now that we have Moonstone in the game.
Yes.
I can, on the same turn you would typically play Kazar before, now we just play Moonstone instead. You get so much more value. You can even play an Iron Lad, get the same amount of value. It just, I don't see, I don't think this card is going to be good. And I know you said that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, this is just not really applicable to us. I'm interested to see how it affects some of the early pool gameplay. Like you said, with the Enchantress buff and now this. But these next couple cards, I think, generally can be played in either current, like Series 3 and above, or even just some new fun stuff, which I know you've been messing with some new fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised that an extra point of power was enough to give Onslaught like a name again. I've been playing what is it? It's the Moonstone Onslaught Victoria hand deck that also features the other card that we'll talk about here in a second. But I'm honestly shocked that this was enough that that people started playing it again. I wonder if it was still fine. Maybe it's not. I feel like time's gonna tell, but I don't think this is gonna be enough to bring the card back.
Well, I think the deck that got the biggest buff from this is just Tribunal.
That's fair, yeah.
Like, that's actually the card that actually gets the most value out of this. Like, for Iron Man, in the sense, you know, that's an extra 4 points of power, potentially, that you can get across the extra lanes and stuff. So, like, it is just, like you said, 1 point of power, but it helps early pool. I think it even helps stuff later on. It pushes Moonstone a little bit more. It pushes the deck that you were having a lot of fun with, as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be very excited to see if this card matters. However, Tucker, when we were talking about stuff last week, one of the things I said I was most concerned about the Moonstone is that you can't spread your power. You have no way to do that. And Second Dinner heard our yap, and they said, you're right. Right? They have to. That's the only logical option. It's definitely not that they just already had it ready beforehand. I think they heard us, Tucker.
They heard us.
They heard us. Mr. Fantastic went from a 3/2 adjacent locations as an ongoing ability have +2 power to a 3/1 ongoing adjacent locations have +3 power. So not only did he get an extra point of power, basically in his whole like ability and everything spread out, it's also even better to use him with Mystiques, with Moonstones, with Onslaughts, which I was able to win games with by just putting those 3 down and calling it a day, or those 4 down. That's the card's actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, this is better. I mean, one of the main things to even think about is, like, Ravonna is such a scary card for Second Dinner to have to think about all the time. And getting another just potential output for a lot of, like, maybe you're not playing Mr. Fantastic in the Tribunal list, like I keep going back to, but now you can because it is more applicable because you're kind of playing Ravonna in those lists anyways. Like, it's just really interesting to see these cards get value, and, like, the stats for this card did get better. And I say it got better, but, like, it's still Mr. Fantastic. So it's still not going to be, like, the most amazing stats for this card, but, like, it really makes you think, like, this is your early series Miss Marvel, but, like, you don't have to have 2 different cards on your adjacent locations to get the extra power, which is really cool. You can kind of just, like, sit this and get +3. So, like, even it losing 1 point of power, it gained an extra point of power as well. So
it gained 2, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, it gained 2 points of power. It lost
if you,
1,
if you're
and it was,
count that,
it was a 3/6, and now it is a 3/7. So
yeah, and I think it's better because of the fact that the ongoing ability is much more usable, right? The ongoing ability is the standout of the card. You don't have to worry about the card itself being. But again, this goes back to what I said before. I don't think they could have done any of this if they hadn't buffed Enchantress.
Yeah.
And I know we're not seeing her at top ladder and all that places, but I don't think any of this stuff could be done without doing that. And so what I really want to see, and I don't know if I'm coping here, but this is my hope, Doug. I want them to do this more with those Series 1 cards.
Okay.
Bring them up to the level where everything else is, and just make sure that the counters you have early on match that. Because Enchantress is going to be better early game, means that the ongoing cards can be better to match it, and all of them can get elevated up to where everyone else is. So if they want, they can't just buff Mr. Fantastic and then Mystery Tactics was able to be played at the top of the ladder, because then guess what? Everything at the beginning of the game, which is I know there's new player experience, but it is really good, the new player experience. It matters for those new players. It gives them a very good way to learn the game. And if you make this busted combo, you can't play these cards at the beginning of the game. Like, it just breaks everything, and that's it. And that's all people will be playing at the top of the game as soon as they realize how good this is. But then you see Enchantress as this counter. So my whole point with this whole thing, sorry, with this yap right here, is just that I want to see this more. I want to see these early series cards get buffed, and then in such a way that all of them can elevate into the future meta games, not just the series 1, but your series 3 and 5, where these cards, like an ongoing deck, can actually kind of look similar at the beginning of the game to the end of the game.
Yeah, and call me crazy, but what I want them, another way to improve that too, is helping with some of this card acquisition and revamp the entire collection track and shuffle some of these Series 3 cards down to like Series 2 and Series 1 and rearrange it, maybe even taking 4 to be able to progress and drop it down to 3. Like three tiers, which I think is something Guest I saw him say on his stream. That just like came to mind just now. Of course, like don't know exactly how applicable that would be, but maybe shuffling down some of these Series 3 cards to Series 2 and Series 1 could help push people to play the game longer, because they're actually able to play more of these fun decks that other people are playing.
I like that idea. Yeah. And I also don't know. I'm trying to say this carefully. I like that in general. I don't know if it's that or if it's going to be just whatever card. If I think if they don't fix card acquisition, that's what they do. But I'm hoping the fix to card acquisition does that.
Yes, I hope that's that and more. Like I want I want that, but like I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I agree with you, but I'm also like that's not enough. No, it's not. It's not. It's a stepping stone.
Exactly, because if that happens, then we're just gonna have a bunch of other issues. Which, speaking of the snap shutdown, there was the whole like the event thing, right? Where like there's a bunch of variants. I told a buddy. I had a buddy who is, again, I've talked about him many times, but he really enjoys the game and he's really early series. He is I told him about that. And he's like, oh yeah, I love it because I lose to these decks that are running Iron Patriot and Victoria Hand. And he's like, you know what? I'm now closer to getting Nolan X23.
Yep.
And I looked at, I read that message and I'm like, huh. Okay. Well, that's just a little thing, which, by the way, with the snap shutdown, who knows that's going to happen. But also, like, it was only 3 or 4 days, and we were already, like, over halfway done with the whole thing.
Well, we were at 5 million out of 20 million. And I was like, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think do like that.
I think they're going to give it to everyone at this point. I just think, especially with the compensation.
Yes.
Everyone's going to get them. That's where I'm at with it. But sorry, that's not even the end of the OTA talk. It's just, guess what? We yap here. What is it? Before we talk about I think the most interesting change in the OTA, which is wild that we haven't even hit the most interesting one. Sentry and the Void both went from a 4/9 and a 4-9 to a 4/8 or 4/8 -8, and then to a 4/9 -. No.
Yeah.
Use talk because I messed.
Yeah, so like this change was good. Like Sentry needed a buff. I still think Sentry could have gone back to a 4/10. I said that actually like a couple of yaps ago. Like I think we're at a place now where it's totally viable. Of course, maybe they're not wanting that. Maybe they're seeing some more with like the Nihilus Clog stuff than we are. But I haven't been seeing that overall a lot. I know it's made a resurgence, and especially with the next card we're talking about, you're going to probably see a lot more of it if that card still stays relevant. And then, of course, we're going to show you guys the stats for these cards after we've talked about it too, so you can see like the big picture for it. But I'm okay with this change. Not opposed. I do think it could have been a 4/10, but
I don't mind it getting a buff.
Yeah,
because I haven't seen an Nihilus in a while, and I'm fine with the Nihilus being good. I don't know if I like the 4/10 honestly, because maybe it's good for like the.
What if it's 4/10 Sentry, but still like 4-8 Void, 4-9 Void?
No, honestly, the Sentry's one. I don't know if I like Scar decks being able to get that. That's the only reason I don't know if I am super stoked on that card. But I also say that
Sentry and Ifrik and Ares decks.
I'm about to say, yeah, and then Ares is gonna be here in not next week. Yeah, right, next week.
It's like
Yeah, so-
it feels so weird. These seasons are like shorter because they're actual months and they're not 5-week long freaking seasons.
Dude,
right now.
January is January has gone by so quickly.
Yeah, it's been
there's been
crazy month.
This is the start of 2025, bro. This is a wild start to 2025.
Yep.
Not to mention, Hella's back, bro. You tell everyone what the
Okay,
new
so
Hella is.
Hella is now a 6/9 on reveal for each different cost among them, meaning a 5 cost, a 6 cost, 4 cost, 3 cost. Resurrect a card you discarded to a random location. In that sense, you could discard 6 random 6-drop cards. It only revives one of them. But if you do a 5-drop and a 6-drop and a 4-drop, it'll resurrect all 3 of those cards. It does not resurrect the amount of cards based on what you have discarded. It still just depends on the cost of the cards you discarded in order to resurrect them.
This is such an interesting change.
I like it though. It makes you think more. But like, I still don't like Hella. But like, I like this more.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes, exactly. This change is better. It is definitively better than what we had before. For one, it's not just a band-aid again with the resurrection with minus power, because guess what? Luke Cage exists and he sucks. But also with this new version, dude, Swordmaster and Silver Samurai are being legitimately played.
Yep.
That's so cool. I love it. Like the Swordmaster is just a good card here, and you're also just like trying to figure out like, wait, what is the best thing for me to be playing on these turns? Like how do I play these out? And it doesn't just feel like, okay, my opponent played 3 cards and they win the game. No, they've got to be careful about which cards are discarding, which cards are bringing back, because they don't. It's very specific.
You still lose to RNG, which kind of stinks. Like that's like a major feels bad when it comes to this card, and I think that's one of like the real gripes there. And then they did this. They changed Hella for you dance, so you had one less Luke Cage thing to complain about.
Okay, sweet. Okay, I forgot to mention this when we talked about Luke Cage. I'm gonna bring him back real quick. I don't want to end this. Sorry. He just needs this reduced word. Remember how we was talking about last week? How he has like 3 different keywords that he stops. Change this reduce word to be your cards can't have their power afflicted.
Afflicted or stolen.
Afflicted or stolen, sure. Use those keywords that they've built into the game. Don't make this counter the set power as well. I think if Anti-Venom isn't like undoing this or whatever, what is it, like Valkyrie and stuff like that, honestly, I'd be so much happier with this card. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, I don't want to, you can, if you want to respond to that, you can. I don't want to keep, I've been yapping about Luke Cage for a while, so I'm trying to hold myself
about Luke Cage
back.
so much these past like month and a half. I think we're okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I think New Hella is a lot better. I think that, what is it? She's made a thing in the metagame.
Fairer. It's more
fairer.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairer is definitely a good way to describe it. But beyond all this stuff, what is it looking like, at least in the meta right now? How is that looking?
So if we go ahead and we look at the meta for these cards over here.
Okay.
Here is what we got going on. Zoom in a little bit. We're gonna scroll through. This is of course post Infinite right now. This is Onslaught, Hella, Luke Cage's win rate has gone down. Actually.
I'm down with that. You know I like that.
Mr. Fantastic has gone up. Sentry has gone up. But like still negative win rates for all of them. Hydra Bob, his win rate I believe went down. Still positive cubes. Spider-Man and Scream have okay win rates. US Agents win rate and cube rate went down.
He's a lot worse of a card. Like actually, like I'm pretty sure he was B or A tier last time we talked about him. And he went way down.
And then Kazar.
It's just not going to work. Like this card cannot exist, I don't think, as is. Like I think that we've seen that this card can't be a 4 cost.
No, not at least play him later game. You can't play him the same way.
Right. That's the biggest thing. You cannot play this card later game. And I don't know. I like the other stuff though. I do like the fact that again, Onslaught's actually a thing back in the meta. What is it? Luke Cage has gone down, thank God. There were naysayers who said Hydra Bob would be the worst card in the world now. It's still good. You're playing it in similar decks again. It's just a matter of like, hey, this is just now a 1-4. You lost a single point of power. Second Dinner tries to do this where, hey, if they nerf the card, they're not trying to completely kill it. They're just trying to bring it down into a more acceptable area. But yeah, I'm liking this a lot more. I feel like all these are really good. But another card tuck that I keep seeing in these decks. You want to talk about Moonstone, how she affected the meta over the last week?
Yeah. I don't know what this is. That's a little scary. But let's go ahead.
You mean it has a negative 1.58 cubes? Yeah, that's a really scary list.
That I don't know who's playing that. But if we look at the Moonstone stats, actually, I honestly like. I said to buy this card. Like I said this is going to be a pretty decent card. Statistically, it's not looking that great right now, like in the current state of the meta, but we had a good hot location for Moonstone, which was just incredible that Dance was farming people with. And then,
because no one was on the US servers.
That's true. Dance was just farming people not on the US servers. And then I do think she's going to get better over time. Like I totally think like next season for sure. But no, this card with the Mr. Fantastic buff, like that specifically, the Mystique interaction, like I think this card has potential to be good. I think right now she is okay.
Yeah, I think Moonstone is a very solid card. And I think I was lower on her when I first was looking at her, other stuff. And I didn't even have a list that I really wanted to play with her initially. But then if we look at, again, those top decks with her, she is killing it. Like, she's just a good card, and she works so well. The Victoria Hand Quinjet, and this is one of the things that I realized with her. When I was running her in an ongoing list at first.
Right.
And I even told you about this. I was on Copium that I was using Orca in that list.
Yes.
I was legitimately running Orca because I realized if you have a speed, a Moonstone, an Ant-Man, and then insert fourth card here, you've got a lane with like 30, 40 power.
Yes.
And then just dropping a big statted card in another lane wins that lane entirely. So I was worried that this wouldn't be able to spread its power out.
Right.
New Mr. Fantastic changed that. But also, you don't always need that.
Right.
So Moonstone's a fun card, bro. I'm so happy with how she works. And I've been playing so much of these like Iron Patriot Victoria Hand decks. I was saying that the Iron Patriots can be boring. I was saying all this stuff this season, and I've gone back on a lot of it. I will say, if we're going to talk back, by the way, about what we said the original decks for some of these cards were going to look like, I did talk about the Wiccan decks being some of the best places.
Yeah, and I agree.
And it's just because Wiccan is still busted.
Yeah, it's the condition. Like, people know how to deck build. That's the thing. Like, people were talking about Wiccan beforehand, and that's the same thing with Ajax. People are like, Ajax is bad. Why are you guys playing this Ajax card? Luke Cage is everywhere, and it's still like, yes, Luke Cage still might be everywhere even now, but like there's still so much value you get from just the raw stats of cards, and like people can deck build now. And like going back to Iron Patriot, you know, some of those times too in these Iron Patriot things, you get a free Moonstone. And like Victoria hand value with Moonstone is just crazy because like be able to get that power across the board. Like there's just so much you can do.
Victoria hand, Moonstone Onslaught. Bro, I'm putting down a 13 power grapple hook.
Yes.
That's so dumb. I love it. This is so dumb.
It's just crazy. And Wiccan enables you to do so many different combos and stuff too. Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? What arrow do they have? Like, it just, there's so much unknown. You put Quinjet down too. You have Onslaught to be able to go on the Quinjet earlier in the game, allow you to do that stuff. Like,
dude, it's Onslaught Citadel I was using with Quinjet, and then you put a Moonstone on there, and I've got Agent Coulson in there. I'd play, and I had him double. I had 2 5 costs, 2 4 costs in my hand. All of them cost 1 cost. Final turn of the game, I think I put down 30 like energy worth of cards because it's just busted.
Oh, it's also a huge shout out to the Alliance missions going back to actually having energy bounties. Like that's actually really, really cool. I like those. Like it's spend 60 energy. Okay, that's like just easy to do and applicable. You don't have to really like deck build around that, which is really nice.
Yeah, that is better. I still hate Alliance missions. So I'm trying to be supportive. Like it's when your toxic best friends like, I've did this really bad thing, and you're like, slay.
Yeah, good job.
Slay. Like you're supporting them, but you're also like, I ain't condoning this.
Yeah, no. But talking about toxic though, we have a toxic card coming out today. A toxic copium combo card. Potentially. We have the good old Daredevil villain Bullseye.
Oh, I'm so stoked for the new season. I love it.
It's gonna.
Sorry,
oh
or not season, new show, whatever. Dude, did you see
might as
how
well be
jacked,
season
by the way,
4.
Bullseye is?
Bro, he's
Did you see how
huge.
Dude, I was like, I thought they you see, because again, Kingpin, sorry, unrelated about Bullseye. Kingpin looked bigger inside of like the Kate Bishop show.
Yes.
Bullseye. Oh, I'm so stoked for the show, but not to mention the card, a 3-cost, 3-power card, Bullseye with an activatable ability. Discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different enemy cards with -2 power. I'm saying that very specifically because it's a big ability, but kind of goes down to your cheap cards go away, and then for each cheap card you discard, a different card on your opponent's side is going to get -2 power.
And I got a question, okay? Let's say they only have 4 cards on board, but you end up discarding 5 cards. Does it stop at 4 cards?
I think it's going to discard. It's only going to stop at the 4. Because
Okay.
it says the different cards, right? And so it'll just do as many as it can, and then it will be like, oh, we're good here.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. I didn't know if it would be like, then it goes and like picks a random card kind of thing. But it makes more sense if it's set number. Okay.
Yeah, this is... I'm so sad you can't do this ability multiple times. I wish you could. I know it's toxic, but like it's like a symbol thing of like Gambit or what have you. You know, right? And I feel like I want something similar to that, but I get that it's not going to be that.
They don't have the card yet that can make your activates go off again, which that would be.
Dude, I would the day that we get like a what is it like the card says on reveal, perform the activate actions of all of your or is it active. This card activates all your. I think didn't we talk about that, right? Wasn't that like your? This was yeah. That's who I want. Sorry, I'm not gonna. We talked about that older Yap where we made our own custom cards. That was a fun one. But dude, Bullseye's gonna be an interesting card.
It's got a million variants too.
Yeah, because this card has been in the game since beta, I believe. So there have been versions of this. At one point, I think it was a 1-cost 2-power card. The next card you draw is 2-cost. Something like that. Yeah, let's look at that. And so it's a really fun card. Not to mention, obviously. Oh, did you notice that this week all the cards here mention 1-cost cards? All
of them are 1-cost surfer cards.
Exactly, right? Who doesn't love the Bullseye Kyera Marvel Boy deck? Which, dude, that deck's popping off. God, there's some stuff where I'm trying to like make a joke and I can't because my brain hurts trying to comprehend.
Well, it's gonna be really interesting with this, like Bullseye. Like, of course, like the main thing people are going to gravitate towards is like Swarm, but there's always an outlet where you could do some other stuff, even like an X-23 or like kind of, there's going to be just different ways people can incorporate this opposed to just the Wombo combo because of the -2 stat point of that affliction to many different cards. Maybe you're not trying to have 7 different cards in your hand to afflict the -2 to AO. But we're of course gonna showcase a deck which probably plays more into the Wombo combo, but I do think people are gonna deck build around this more than we are thinking right now in the moment. Which this card could get even better over time in a sense as just another card to have on the board to do like some affliction stuff. So I'm very interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, so I know in previous weeks, right, we typically each have our own deck that we're showcasing here. We were we didn't, there's not a lot, again, maybe there's a different place where the card exists that we don't know about, but when we're talking about this card, it kind of just feels like this is just a card you put in a discard list. It's not crazy. At one point, I said I want to do stuff with Hela, but Hela doesn't work the same way anymore.
Yeah,
And
not
so
anymore.
this card doesn't work with Hela. Like in my mind, I was like, is there some copium build where like you play what is it? You have Ebony Maw in your deck along with like a what is it, with Hydra Bob and then a bunch of swarms, and then you activate Bullseye to bring all those cards down, and then you play Hela in order to those. That was a thing I thought at one point. It doesn't work anymore, obviously with the new Hela. But like, so what is the deck that we were thinking? Our conjoined efforts.
We got Yap and Slap over here. So it's pretty much like, it looks like a standard kind of collector discard-esque shell. We, of course, do have Helicarrier in this for some of that collector value. That, and I do believe Grandmaster are kind of more or less coming to some of these flex slots that we were thinking about, of like top end Helicarrier boosts your collector, but at the same time, if you fill your hand and you don't have a way to discard that properly, you can't maybe get the exact Bullseye value you want on the like full combo-esque discard kind of terrain here. But it's just buffing your collector, buffing your Morbius, as well as afflicting a lot of like negative power to your opponent's side of the board, which is going to be really interesting. You have Meek to be able to go in line with that.
Scorn also can go back as well, because whenever Scorn's discarded, she also spreads the power back onto the board. So it gives you some really fun, hopeful options on that final turn of the game, where you can MODOK your hand and then activate Bullseye. And there's going to be some, hopefully some interesting stuff there. I like the idea of this deck as well, because it gives you a lot of places where your output can go to. Is your output going to you destroying your opponent's side of the board or afflicting your opponent's side of the board? Because obviously I think Gambit's still a busted card, but Gambit is a good card for discard decks, and Grandmaster lets you do that twice. You've got a lot of these cheap cards in this deck as well that let you ramp stuff out, so you can spend your first few turns of the game, hopefully, right? Hopefully throwing your Meek, your Bullseye, your Morbius, your Collector onto the board, so then on the later turns you can throw down all your discards and really do some crazy stuff there. So there were versions where we were talking about we maybe wanted like a Moon Knight in here. There was like an Apocalypse Dracula, which I think we moved away from pretty quickly. Yeah. In general, I like this idea here. I think it's a lot of fun. I have no idea how good it's going to be, but I think this is one of those cards, Tucker, where I'm like, if the deck still exists in a month, I think it'll look similar to this. But even just before then, do you think that Bullseye will be in the meta, for one at all, for two in a month?
I'm interested to see if he is. Like, I think someone's gonna make an Ajax kind of shell, like it's a more of a different kind of hybrid that may showcase this card differently than what we got going on here. Yeah. Or it's just gonna be another just aggressive discard card you have in your like decks to just enable either a bigger Scorn if you don't have your Apocalypse kind of thing, something you play out maybe on curve earlier to kind of afflict damage to cards. Maybe like you're playing against move bounce and you have priority, so you play Bullseye down and then you afflict the Human Torch with that negative power, so whenever it moves it doesn't get a buff. So it'll be really interesting to see if there's more mind games kind of with this card.
Oh yeah, I've played what is it? Like there's been a Deadpool on the board trying to ramp up, and I just play a Hazmat on turn 2, and I know I'm not getting anything other than just shutting down their Deadpool they're trying to ramp up. Yeah, there's gonna be some. I didn't think about that stuff. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of fun there, and it's gonna be. I'm excited to see what the deck does. I think there's gonna be a lot of really cool stuff here, and I've got no idea exactly what the best place for this is gonna look like, but I will say I do think Bullseye's gonna be toxic. But I think there are a few other cards here, though, just in general in Marvel Snap, that are pretty dang toxic.
And this is not necessarily in the sense where we think toxic as in it does negative affliction to the cards. It could also be in the sense of this card is played, oh, you are super toxic kind of thing.
Yeah. It's not this variant, but I'm just going to start us off with, I'm just going to go with the gimme. I'm going to go with the gimme here. And I've got to talk about this guy, right? This is, if we're talking about toxic, bro, I had an opponent Eliath me, and then Miss Marvel thumbs up me afterwards. And
Oh,
I sat
no.
there. I sat there and I said, this is why I mute all emotes. This is why. And then the other voices come in. They say, but Dance, you have so many emotes. Why would you mute them all? And I think of that moment. And I said, that's why. That's why I mute everyone. That's why I mute everyone. I don't care if you're going to fist bump me beforehand. I don't care if you do a Spider-Man point and we do the same thing. I'm sorry. Those little things get to me so much more. And the Eliath just is so annoying, bro.
Yeah, no, this card's been toxic since its release. It has not let up on the gas, I would say.
Dude, imagine we still have the original one. Destroy all cards played here this turn.
Please don't. I would be done.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This card I think is one of the most toxic cards in the game. We're starting with this, but where do you want to take it from here?
So, hear me out. I think Viper is one of the most toxic cards in the game.
Viper. Okay.
So I know it's maybe kind of situational, but like now that it is, or it has been a targeted kind of yeet over card in this sense to clog your side of the board or your opponent's side of the board with negative power and stuff. I feel like this is kind of a toxic-ass card. Definitely not one of the top toxic cards that we'll probably progressively talk about. But this card does not get talked about enough about how toxic this actually is to face. Like, straight up.
Yeah, this was on my list as well. I agree with you 100% because, God, it's just like, I feel like I'm doing good things. I feel like I'm having fun, and I'm like, okay, you have 4 spots in a location, Tucker.
Yep.
I build my gameplay based on those 4 spots.
Yep.
And then it's sometimes when it's not even them vipering over a hood. They don't even viper over like a rock from debris. They viper over like a 1-2 and just fill the board anyway.
Yep.
That hurts. That car right then, you sit there, you're like, you didn't just like ruin my plan there. You kind of just said, no, screw you. You don't get that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, that's such a great shout. I think this card is absolutely toxic. You know who else is very toxic, and I brought him up a few times. So again, I'm trying to go with the gimmies first, and we're gonna stick in the 3 costs here as we talk about where's the guy? Sorry, I actually have to look down my iPad.
Yes, Gambit is very toxic.
I am so tired of playing my board, and I'm on. It's turn 2, Tucker. It's turn 2. My opponent's played nothing, and I say, okay, listen, I've got my Quinge on the board. I have to play Victoria hand. Let's go with the turn 3. I can just throw down. It doesn't really matter what throw down. Let's just grab an Angel Coulson. We'll throw that down here, play it. Then they reveal a Gambit. I'm like, oh God, Gambit's coming out. It's fine. He always hits Coulson. He never hits my hand. He never hits my Victoria hand. He never hits Quinjet. I'm fine. And then I see their Apocalypse disappear, and then it lags. And I sit there like, what's going on? Did the game break? Did the game break? And I'm about to refresh the app, and then I just see this bullet out of nowhere just completely annihilate my Victoria hand. And I sit there, I'm like,
it had to calculate everything. That's why your game lagged.
Yeah, it was doing the eye tracking, right? Like, have you ever like, I can't look at my cards. I can't look at the card that I want to go away. I have to like look at I have to look at my Coulson. I don't want Victoria hand. This card does too much I hate this card so much. It's such a toxic card.
Yep.
Then they Grandmaster it.
Yeah. Oh, in that situation, they Grandmastered it afterwards?
Yes, they Grandmaster it too, Tucker. That's why the Grandmaster's in the decks with this card. Because they Grandmaster it after everything else. Because destroying your opponent's cards, fun fact, I know you may not know this, it's really good. It's really good to destroy your opponent's cards. And so Gambit just sits there and just ruins my day. Mon ami, he's about to make a name for himself over here. He's making a name for himself. He's going to be on my list. That's where his name's going to be, Tucker.
Yeah, no, Gambit is incredibly toxic. And like people that are running Gambit in high voltage, like that was just mean.
People said I was mean for running Cosmo. And then I got Gambited. I never cared what they said about running me running Cosmo.
No.
Never cared. Nope. Sorry. But who do you, Tucker? Who else is real? I love this venting. This is our just who else you got going on?
Staying in the 3 cost, really close to Gambit. I have Killmonger.
Killmonger. Okay. The Kill Daddy. Okay. Why? Let's go with Thirst Daddy over here while you talk.
Thirst Daddy, Killmonger. is an incredibly toxic card. It destroys all 1-cost cards. And if you guys know me, I play a lot of 1-cost cards. And I always try and throw priority before turn 6 because I know this guy is running amok and comes out and just slaughters the entire hand I just slammed onto the board.
Yeah, so I was running a deck like that, and then I don't remember who it was. I feel like it was like KMS went that, and then he's like, yeah, I found this new deck here. It runs Invisible Woman and Killmonger, so you can, you know, it doesn't matter about the priority anymore. And I sat there and I cried, Tucker.
Yeah, very, very, very sad Sarah Tech things there. Yeah, not a fan.
God, Killmonger's just so annoying. It's such a toxic card. Can you imagine if this card released today, Tucker? Can you imagine what would happen if Killmonger released today? This is imagine a Series 5 card on a 3-cost 3-power card on reveal, destroy all 1-cost cards. How the uproar the community would have upon this card getting added to the game is.
But it's a necessary evil, Dance. You have to have a card to destroy all the 1-drops.
I actually had it as a sleeper, and it's not as bad, but it is annoying because it feels similar to Killmonger, but it's worse because it's a more direct middle finger when you get Electrode. It doesn't happen often, but you know, sometimes I'm playing those players that are like, they're like 500 collection level, and so Electro's a good card for them to run. And then I'm sitting there with my Quinjet on the board, and then they play the Electro down on turn 2, and it just destroys that. And I sit there and I'm like,
no, people have been running it more. I know Crimeafoot's been running it because there's been a lot of drops. He's been running it in a clog list. So, like, he sends over a big card, or they play a big card or a big 1-drop. He Electros, and then he does, like, a Nihilist to be able to make sure he has the space to send stuff over.
That's atrocious. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Like, Killmonger sucks, but also I hate Electra for the same logic because it's like, it's the same as Killmonger, but again, it just feels more direct. It's not like, screw the world. No. Screw you in particular.
I'm still running Electra instead of the best 1-drop in the game. I'm not running Nico. I'm running Electra instead just because I want to spite people.
And I get it. Maybe people don't have other stuff, right? So this is what they use, but it's just,
yeah, no.
It hurts. It hurts. I got a couple more here. I don't know how many more you have.
I mean, another just easy peasy Red Guardian.
Yeah, he's one of the. Yeah, going back to that 3-cost area because there's a lot of
toxic. Is all the toxic cards I've had, like literally.
There's a lot of them. I have my next one that I have. I've got 2 more. Or actually, I have 3. 2 of them are 3-costs. Because yeah, Red Guardian is just. This is a card people thought was going to get nerfed in the last OTA,
which probably should have.
This is an A-tier card currently, according to Untapped metrics. It's a very good card. I remember I had it again. I've recommended this card to like newer players, and they're like, they say, "Well, why do I want this card?" I'm like, put it in your deck.
You'll see.
Put it in your deck, and you'll see.
Yep.
And came back to me like a week later. He said, "This is insane. This is so good." My opponent's sitting there with their Wong they play or whatever, and you just say, "Nope." Then they play their Iron Man. Nope. And then nope. Kind of like Valkyrie saying to you right now.
Yeah, goodness gracious. Yeah, no, Red Guardian, like, the targeting, the afflicting as well. Not only does it shut off your card, it afflicts it with -2 power, which, like, thinking about afflicting a single card with -2 power, now you think about Bullseye afflicting potentially up to, in a God hand, 7 different cards with -2, or even if you discard maybe a couple cards, like 3 cards getting hit with -2 in a bunch of different areas. That's value. Of course, more combo heavy opposed to this kind of be more like a priority based card. No, this card is extremely toxic. Extremely good.
Yeah.
And a necessary evil, but toxic.
Yeah, but this goes into the thing, right? With like Killmonger with Red Guardian.
Yes.
Where you're trying to very carefully to let them have priority so your cards can't have this stuff happen to them. And you're building all your deck this really specific way. And then you're like, okay, I'm safe from the Killmonger. I'm safe from the Red Guardian. And then Tuck. Then they bring out this. I'm trying to. Where is? Cannot find her. Wait, you have to type it. Hold up. Oh wait, no, it's on reveal. That's why. Then they bring out this screw. And you've been playing your game so carefully. so carefully you've been playing your game. Just make sure you're dodging priority. They give it to them. They can't Shang-Chi you. They can't Killmonger you. And you're thinking on top of the world. So you drop your Hulk down on the final turn. You're like, I've got this. And then they revealed this just Negasonic Teenage Warhead has been the reason I have closed Marvel Snap before. It is just I'm done. I get a Negasonic. I'd say nope. I don't even. I've had times where I close Marvel Snap, I walk away, and then I go tell my wife how much I love her and how much I value her, and that's what I do instead. I have to leave. It's.
Yeah, no, this is up there for sure. Like this card, Red Guardian does great things against this card, which is cool. But no, this card really awesome. Is just like feels bad.
Or you play Magneto and then you pull Negasonic in. And you're like, there was no Negasonic before. I'm fine. And you pull Negasonic, and she says, "Oh, I'm here now. I hate Magneto." No, you just
no. This card. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Is Negasonic Teenage Warhead is rage-inducing.
A menace.
Yeah. All right. I've got two more toxic cards here, Dent.
I mean, one we talk about all the time, and that has been changed repeatedly, but is still toxic, is the good old Black Widow.
This was on a version of my list. Yeah, Black Widow. Black Widow is a card. Oh God. Talk about why Black Widow is so toxic while I find her.
So Black Widow, the 3/3, is very toxic in the sense that it adds a Widow's Bite to your hand, which does not allow you to draw a card on the next turn. It used to be a 2/1 on reveal that worked with Ravonna. It was absolutely disgusting. Then it was a 3/4, and then a 3/3, and then a 3/4 again. And like now it's a 3/3 activate. Like they can't find a way to make this work. Dance talks about it all the time. He thinks they should just remove it from the game entirely or completely rework it since they can't make this card fun. It's crazy. The Peach variant is so good.
I like the variant. God, I don't know what they do with this card. I think it's gonna stay as is, and it's gonna be fine until another deck comes out that uses her, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, this card's a problem again," because the toxic cards get removed.
Yes,
the toxic cards are gonna get changed. They're gonna get whatever they need to, and Black Widow is definitively a toxic card in that regard. Just the Widow's Bite is so annoying. Thank God you can't absorb man and Grandma and all this stuff, bro. They even said those decks weren't the best ones for it, and they actually that messed with how good she actually was in their metrics. But it doesn't help that it feels so toxic still.
Yeah.
But I have another cards outside of the 3 costs, but we stuck in here for so long that I think I might as well finish us off with Owen Wilson, Mobius and Mobius. And I think we're going to be, I know we always say it's the Mobius week. It's the Mobius week. This is and I've always said no. This is the one time I'm concerned about the Mobius week.
Yes.
With this upcoming week because of it shuts down entirely Bullseye. Bullseye no longer works if you're doing the whole swarm combo.
Yep.
No longer works if your opponent has Mobius on the board.
The TVA hates him.
Exactly. The TVA hates him. What was it? Doctors hate this one simple trick. Play Mobius.
Play Mobius. Yeah. No.
It's there's nothing good. This is a card that's like Shadow King makes it so everything gets back to normal. And you're like, okay. And it still's annoying. But then Mobius says, "Nah, I'm fine. But you, not so much."
Yeah, no, the Mobius, I think definitely, if you guys are looking for cards that counter Bullseye, this is, enemy number 1 that definitely will help you out in that sense. Play this out as soon as you can, because it is just going to be a mess, I would say, if not.
But if you play it too soon, they're running Gambit in the same deck, Tucker.
Yeah, but you have your other cards on the board. You never just play a Mobius by itself. That's the other thing. Never just play a Mobius on itself by the board, especially in a discard matchup.
They're both 3 power, and so you just actually put both of them. You play Mobius and you play Armor, so you can do your Cerebro 3 game, and you're fine, right? And Luke Cage is still 3/3. No, he doesn't.
No, Luke Cage is 3/2. No.
All right. Who's the Who's the last card of yours who you think is pretty toxic here?
So, staying on the 3 train, of course, this has like an asterisk. It has to be enabled by another card. But the big bad man himself, good old Cyclops with the high Evo interaction is definitely...
Yeah.
It is the bane of anyone who faced high Evo in their peak's existence. This card has been a menace since those days, even with Luke Cage. But this card was crazy also with Luke Cage only being a single lane threat for a while too. So Cyclops really could go crazy. People are running Rogue. Now there's so many ongoing cards you're playing in these type of lists. But this with High Evo definitely was an absolute fiend.
Yeah, High Evolutionary Cyclops in particular. At the end of each turn, if you have unspent energy, afflict 2 different cards here with -1 power.
Yes.
Such a annoying card. It is absolutely... It's just toxic. I don't think there's a better way to say it. It's just a toxic card. This is... Yeah, this is... I even remember a thumbnail I think I made for you with it's just Cyclops and it's just like It's just a toxic, I feel like. It's something really simple there. Because he is incredibly toxic. Like, there's nothing... Like an on reveal, you stop with the Cosmo, and an ongoing, you can stop with like an Echo or an Enchantress. But with this card in particular, Red Guardian wasn't in the game when we were thinking about this stuff, and all you can do is kind of just like, oh, I really hope I get my Luke Cage soon.
Yeah, no, you literally are praying for Luke Cage to either shut down their Abomination, or you're praying for Mobius to shut down their Abomination. There's so many different ways you to play around this. And was an absolute menace. One day they'll bring back High Evo to some sort of meta relevance. I mean, I guess you could technically play him right now, but like you just play Ajax normal stuff anyways.
Yeah, it's just better. Or even you're running like just Apocalypse, or not Apocalypse, Abomination inside of that deck, right? And that's just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's High Evolutionary is dead. They tried with Bruce Banner, it didn't work.
Freaking Bruce Banner, bro.
It's not a thing.
No.
That's I stand by. Give me a 7 cost, no ability card. Let it bring High Evolutionary onto the map.
Think.
Natural. Whoa, that's a great idea. But as the final most toxic card, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. We're gonna finally leave our 3 cost den, and we're gonna go to the 5s because Tuck, when I'm sitting there and I'm trying to I've got my combo laid out on the board and I'm playing it out, and then my opponent has priority on final turn. Then they Legion Danger Room. the rage, the anger I feel, the absolute devastation as I see the 1 in 4 chance. I've rolled nat 1s every single time, and it just... Legion's a great card. I think he's a really good card. And
he's toxic as hell, bro.
he's toxic as all hell. He is very good, but he's extremely toxic.
Yeah.
I think that this card is... I just think Legion's so good, so toxic. It just does something else. And it's also, like, if you put Luke Cage and, like, Legion in the same deck, go get, like, a sewer system negative zone that gives -3 to all cards, it's so good. I hate this card. It's just such a good card for Airship as well. It sucks. I hate it. Hate this card, bro. It's so toxic.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Not in the slightest.
But you know what's not toxic and actually absolutely incredible? Not My Dance's channel on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. That is Not My Dance, NOTMYDANCE. Not My Dance. Please follow him on all of his platforms, which will be down in the description below, for an amazing time. Variety streamer, Marvel Snap streamer, Marvel Rival streamer, Among Us streamer, you know, all sorts of different variety games as well. Please hit that follow and subscribe button for my boy, your boy, our boy, down in the description below.
But it isn't your dance. Or it's not my dance.
No.
But before you're doing any of that anyway, before you've got to make sure that when the video you're watching right now, you got to make sure you like the video. Comment down below what your favorite thing about Tucker is. Just whatever the favorite thing is. And then you realize, wait a second, I haven't followed him on his Twitch yet. I haven't subscribed to him on YouTube. I'm not following him on Twitter. You can still follow him on TikTok. He's back on TikTok.
I am back
You
on
can
TikTok.
follow him there. You can see you can see all of his sick plays in Marvel Rivals, where I'm extremely jealous of the fact that he can play so many characters. I sit there with Cloak and Dagger and Magneto and hope that I'm halfway decent, but he's over there with 19 million characters that he's just like, oh yes, no. You see those guys with like they say you want to buy a watch and they've got all these like really cool watches in there. Tucker's like, hey, you want to see a main? And he just like, it's got this like massive like wall of characters that he's insane at. So if you want to see some great content from him, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're followed to him everywhere. He's a really awesome individual and deserves all the love.
Dan, that was incredible. But hopefully Marvel Snap is back by the time this is posted. And I hope you guys have a lot of success with Bullseye today. I hope you guys get them in 1 key, or if you're missing Kyra, you get them in 2 keys. You're missing Marvel Boy as well, you get them in 3 keys. Honestly, not as feels bad getting 2K tokens, but really hope you guys have some great luck this week. If you guys have an infinite, you guys are going to hit infinite. Until the next time, you guys have a good one, and laters.